Brian Dybel. Corey's broken. Hey, Parker. I think Corey might be broken. Can you check on him?
Hey everyone, this is Corey from MileSplit. Hey everyone, this is Corey from MileSplit. Hey everyone, Corey back with MileSplit. Hey, what's up everyone? This is Corey with MileSplit. I'm Corey with MileSplit here. This is Corey with MileSplit. Corey with MileSplit. Corey with MileSplit. Corey with MileSplit.
It's broken again. We just ordered a new one. This is so annoying. Corey on.
Hey guys, Corey. This is MileSplit. This is MileSplit. This is MileSplit.
Corey off. Corey off. Corey on.
Hey Parker. What's up everybody? This is Corey with MileSplit, and we're back with MileSplit 50, so stay tuned.
Corey off. Yes.
This is Corey with MileSplit here with Drew Bosley of Homestead, Wisconsin. He's your winner at NXR Heartland, roughly 14 mid-50. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Corey from MileSplit here with Brian.
I think you're broken again.
Travis here with MileSplit Live yet again on Tuesday. We got our girl Parker Navarro manning down the pizza rolls fort over there in the corner. And we're about to get into another great show after some great action. But before we get into things, we're going to welcome in our Florida webmaster, Adair Leiden. She is a graduate of Lake Nona High School in Orlando, currently a junior at University of Florida. She's our new webmaster. If you haven't met her, she's going to be at FL Runners Invitational, the 19th edition this weekend. So make sure to say hello to her and say what's up. Adair, welcome in to our show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so are you excited for FL Runners?
I'm pumped. We got a lot of great competitors coming out. We just announced our first round of team picks for the Race of Champions, so that's exciting. And we're just ready to see these runners race.
Did you ever run at FL Runners yourself?
I have. So I think five years I ran.
Oh, wow.
My PR is actually from FL Runners, so my 1842 is from the FL Runners meet.
All right.
So it holds a special place in my heart.
You know a thing or two about that course and that race. What are some of the big names to watch this weekend?
Right. We have freshmen from Berlin Jesuit, Adam Magulas, just came off another win this week, the 1547 at Spanish River. Hugh Brittenham out of Estero, and then we have a lot of great females too coming out to compete. Alyssa Hendricks out of Riverview, Rebecca Clark from the Villages, and Lily Henney from Montfort. So a lot of great names, some big names in the state right now coming.
So Hendricks was a Full Locker Nationals qualifier last year. She's gotten beaten already by Clark and Henney this season. So Hendricks could get a big primetime win here if she goes after those two. You think?
Yeah, so Alyssa's run every week and sometimes twice a week. So that's important to note that she's racing a lot this season. So, and she is coming off of a little bit of a break. So it'll be nice to see her run the Race of Champions and kind of have a breakthrough. So
in Florida, they've been racing, you know, as you know, for a few weeks now. It's hot and it's getting hopefully a little cooler in Florida. But what are some of the expectations that some of these teams can bring out of this meet? You know, of them, Berlin Jesuit, the Creekside girls, Montfort girls. What are some of the things that these teams are going to expect here?
Yeah, so the Berlin boys are bringing their large squad. If you have been to a Florida meet, you know that they'll bring upwards of 50 students out to race. So they're in, I think, 4 races this meet, from the Race of Champions to the Invitational down to JV and unseeded. So they're the top named boys right now. It'll be cool to see the Creekside versus Montfort Academy girls kind of go at it. They're in different divisions in the state meet, so FL Runners is really the premier cross-country race to see these teams that normally don't get to compete one another on a championship level get to battle it out on the course.
Yeah, and obviously, as you said, you've been you've run this race at least. I don't know, how many years has it been in Holloway Park? Has it been there for a while?
It's been there this is the second year FL Runners has been at Holloway. I've run Holloway. It's a difficult course. It's a tough one. In Florida, you don't get many hills. So this course is designed to be difficult and designed to bring out the best in people. So, the Trevor Foley has the course record with a 15:46. That's the course record, and the meet record of 15:54. We can see Adam Magoulas challenge that and hopefully break it. And then we have Nicole Mastic, who has the course or the meet record of 18:33, and Bailey Hertenstein holds the all-time course record of 17:47. So there is a possibility that we can see some sub 18-minute finishes for the girls, and then hopefully a course record for the guys. But it's hot. It's September and it's hot in Florida, so that's always going to be a challenge to kind of overcome.
Well, Charles Hicks is well known by all, in our circles, obviously at the national level. He's done a lot of great things. Currently #1 guy in Florida out of Jacksonville, but the Magoulas kid, I think right now he's around 15:56 or something around there, and he's a freshman. How legit is Adam Magoulas in your opinion at this point in the season?
Talented. I watched him run last week or a couple days ago at Spanish River Invitational. Ran a 15:47, like I mentioned. He takes it out hard, and he's a strong competitor. I wouldn't put anything past Belen Jesuit. They train hard. They're very respectful. Very respectful competitors, and they're going to give everything they have.
So are we going to get any kind of implications at the statewide level from FL Runners, this being maybe a meet that you bring it's one of the biggest meets in Florida, if not the biggest. So what implications can we bring from this?
I think it's going to be a telltale of who is the strongest right now. I'm not necessarily expecting record-breaking times or anything like that. It is Holloway Park course. It's difficult, and with the heat and everything, all of the conditions. What I am expecting to see is some gutsy races, competition that is down to pure will. So I think the state implications, we will see some battles, and I think we'll see who's the strongest in the state. Not necessarily time-wise, but who can perform when it counts.
And so far through the season, in your opinion, who do you think stood out the most in Florida, maybe on the boys or the girls side?
Charles Hicks, I don't believe will be racing FL Runners, but he is the top name in the state. Number 56 in the nation. Y'all just put out an article, so that's awesome. Bulls has a senior powerhouse of 3 guys. So Charles, Chase Riviera, and Benjamin Foltz, and they're going to lead Bulls to some great wins, hopefully. Adam Magoulas is another one. On the girls' side, we've had an 8th grader run 18:13 as their season opener. Carly McNatt out of Holy Trinity. Heard some interesting things about her. I've heard that she's a tennis player and only runs part-time. So I'm really interested to scope out and see what her training schedule is like. As an 8th grader, running 18:13 is awesome. Then we have Rebecca Clark, who's a senior. She's been running for 7 years. She's a name in the state of Florida, and she's quite consistent. Then Sion Yared, Pinecrest. She's a nationally ranked athlete as well. Looking forward to seeing her race some more. And then Valerie Lastra is now the leader for Florida. She just ran an 18 flat at Spanish River, so she will also be competing at the Florida Runners Invitational. We'll get to see how she does. Yeah.
Nice. It should be fun. This is a MileSplit event. Obviously, FL Runners go out, talk to Adair, tell her what your thoughts are. Obviously, if you have stories, throw them her way because she wants everything. Still in school, but she's doing so much for us right now. So, Adair, thanks for coming on our show. Have fun this weekend. All right, take care.
Bye.
All right, so FL Runners, one of our best events, that we hold ourselves in Florida, gets started this weekend. So you guys excited for that too?
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be an awesome event, awesome race. Each year, you see some of the top kids in Florida come out and really shine at this meet. And I think some of the times don't always show it. As you said, the park course sounds a little tough. Yeah. But I think you always see, some good races. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, you get some nice star power. Leo has been a host there before. I think Corey McGee has been there as well. So also a cool opportunity for some of these cross-country athletes to get some face time with some of the best professionals in America as well. So it's a pretty cool atmosphere. I know they put a lot into creating a meet that's not just, for outstanding performances, but also really having a good time and that atmosphere and seeing Leo try to work the starting gun and all that extra stuff. It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. Before we move on to our top 5, there's some really, really cool things on MileSplit.com right now. One among them, Coach's Corner podcast, released last week. Our girl Parker and Kyle Deacon put it together. Hour-long podcast with coaches around the country talking about training and everything, leading a team. So it's really, really cool. Listen to that if you got some time. Obviously, as the video alluded to earlier in the show, Drew Bosley out of Homestead, Wisconsin, penned a really funny Dear Drew letter. He thinks, or his dad at least thinks, I might be a robot. So definitely check that out. And we got plenty more on MileSplit.com. Brian's workout week with Great Oak has been wonderful so far. So
thank you.
Make sure to watch out for all of that throughout the week. But moving on to number 5 right now, our storylines this past weekend. Travis threw out the cause that Illinois was not very strong on the boys' side last week. Well, we got a little bit of an answer this week at Richard Springs. Wheaton Warrenville South ran extremely well. Yep. What are our thoughts coming from that meet? Have they answered any of our doubts or our critics?
I think they did for sure. Going into last week, Illinois fans pushed back for sure. But we hadn't seen what we had needed to see early on in the season. That was just the reality of what it was. But Wheaton Warrenville bounces back. And for me, it was less about what they did there necessarily in terms of how that compared to 2016, where we saw Nequa Valley, different conditions. Wheaton Warrenville's times and team average was all better than Nequa Valley in 2016, but they ran in worse conditions. If you look at how both teams' performances are rated, it's almost exact same, like spot for spot through their top 5, the exact same. In 2016, after that performance, Nequa Valley went on to finish 5th at NXN. They're like 1 point out of 4, just 10 points out of a podium spot. So a team that's running exactly how Warren, whatever. Too much going on here. Yeah. WWS. We're going to keep it simple. Went on to finish top 5 at NXN. So I think for them, it wasn't just coming out in a way that says Illinois is good for Illinois, but this now you can compare to a performance that really makes them nationally relevant now.
Yeah, and if you look at the just this talks this year of teams and how they stack up, they took the jump from 8th to 4th in the rankings. Through 5 guys, they're as solid as any of the top 5 teams in the MileSplit 50 rankings. They have a really, really good showing. They're kind of lacking a little bit, and there's very, very top front elite guys. Like maybe Great Oak, and obviously FM has shown. But Wheaton Warrenville South, what a jump they made in that first opening meet. I just hope they can keep this up and continue to roll and show us what they got.
4 guys under 15 minutes at Detweiler Park. Detweiler Park, I mean, if you run in Illinois, you probably know this by the back of your hand, obviously. This is the course that is well run over and over again for a lot of these athletes. And, some of them have even run on it even weeks ago. So, I think what's telling to me for this team is how they've raced in a field of over 400 kids, right? So when you get up to those state races, when the field's going to be much, much larger, do you have that experience level of knowing how to race in that huge field? Because obviously you need to have a huge plan going into a meet of that stature, and you got to execute. It goes on into the regional races and into the national races too if they get there. So they're proving now they're experienced at this level and fields like this, which I think tells a lot about what they can do.
Yeah.
The boys' race obviously was not the only race that was interesting. In the girls' side, Kaitlyn Hart, maybe had an underwhelming performance in her first week at Lake Park last week, but she came out fire hot, 16-14 at Detweiler, which is a massively. It was a course record on the course. So, what are your thoughts on Kaitlyn Hart coming out with a really great time?
I think I need to see a record type performance out of her, because I think when you look at those girls who are in that top 5 elite caliber, whether it's Camille, Tui, or Hart, fast times don't really mean anything. We know they're the best athletes in the country. They're going to be running fast times, beating fields by 30 seconds to a minute. That doesn't matter. What we need to see is records. Are you better than anyone who has ever run this course in the history of this course? That's when you know that how legit these athletes are, not by comparing them to who they're running now, but comparing them to all the athletes who have come before them. So I think for her, now it's like, okay, she's really, really back now. We know she's good, but now she's starting to separate herself and really solidify her in that group in the category of Camille and Tui.
Yeah, I should clarify. It was a meet record. It wasn't a course record yet on Detweiler, but she's pretty close right now. For Richard Spring, that is a meet record. But, I mean, you're looking at Kaitlyn Hart. We moved her back in the MileSplit 50, one place behind Emily Coburn.
How dare you, sir?
You know, it wasn't the fact that she was running poorly. It's just that, you know, Emily ran better. Yeah. So Kaitlyn comes back, and I wonder how much kids look at statistics at this point in their season, and you know, some of them use it as motivation, or some of them seeing as am I falling behind? I'm curious about that, because I know the prevalence of, you know, social media and websites like this really maybe attract a lot more of that kind of discipline now, and you know, I think some kids use that.
I think you have to, especially when you are at the caliber of athletes that some of these individuals are, because you don't have Camille and Tui maybe as the outlier. You don't have athletes you're going to race against throughout the season that are going to be in the same level you are. So you don't have a way to know how you stack up against people. So whether it's speed ratings or the rankings, you at least have some kind of metric to ballpark. All right, how am I doing compared to other athletes in the sport right now? So I think it's almost easier for Tui and Camille, because they'll race each other this season, and they'll know, all right, how do I stack up against her? Or whether it's Kaitlyn Hart or Claudia Lane or all these other talented girls and guys may never see these types of athletes throughout the season, so it's really difficult. It's almost easier when you have that kind of competition in state.
Yeah. Well, moving on to number 4, this Trinity Valkyrie Invitational. It was a good glimpse of some of the Midwest talent that's going to run through that region in the coming weeks. On the boys' side, we had a really good race out of Jake Renfrey and the St. Xavier's on the boys' side. On the girls' side, we got a good performance out of Centerville's girls in Ohio. We also saw Taylor Ewert open up at the 5K distance, ran really well under 18 minutes. So we got some good kind of case example or case studies here of some of the great talent in the Midwest. So what did you guys sense from this meet? What did it tell us about the season?
Well, one of the things that I have to do is I have to say I apologize to Jake Renfrey. I think I was a little quick to drop him out of the rankings after his performance. Obviously realizing he was an Foot Locker guy last year. So I apologize, Jake, for that. He was really sick the weekend before. Kind of looked at the time and was like, whoa, what happened? Should have taken that a little differently. But now in my mind, this makes me think, Tennessee and Jake Renfrey and Cole Bullock. Like, if Jake was fully healthy and not sick as a dog from the sounds of it, how would he have raced against Cole? Because Cole's speed rating, we now found out, is a 192 from that Cherokee Classic. How does that stack up? How do these guys go toe-to-toe when they see each other both at full strength? That's my new question. It makes it a really, really exciting race in my mind, because I think Jake could have been right there with him if he was healthy.
I think he was caught off guard in that first week too, though, because no one really knew how good Cole Bullock was.
He did come out of nowhere.
Cole probably took that race out immediately, and Jake waited maybe a little bit of a flu, but yeah, he probably waited. So that was a good reminder to Jake. It's like, you finished, 7th at Foot Locker last year, but your spot isn't guaranteed for next year. You got to race. So I think he really came out with an incentive at Trinity here to really run his best. And looking at some of the pictures, it didn't look like Jake even went out to a lead. I mean, he played that out, I think, the race a little longer.
I think that's what he said in the interview as well.
And then, he took the lead at the end stages.
I think one of the things he said was like, I'm not going to let anybody go out and pass me, but I'm not going to aggressively attack. I'm going to hold my ground, and this is my place in the race from the sounds of what he wanted to do.
But he asserted himself at the end of the race and took the race at the end. So I think it's appropriate that he kind of came back after an underwhelming performance as well and kind of snapped up a win there. Do you have any thoughts on that as well?
And you gotta love the queen of the race walk coming back to cross, and now we saw how much she progressed as a race walker on the track this outdoor season. And last cross season, she definitely proved that she deserved to be in the conversation amongst the top athletes in the country. But after seeing that progression on the track, there's a lot of, I think, anticipation for what does this mean for her now in cross country? Is she going to make that next step up to being a contender for an individual top 5, or where is she going to be? So I think for her to come out, running under 18 minutes, 17:42 is a great way for her just to get back into the season after what was a very long track season, for her and everywhere she was traveling. So I think it's nice just to see her getting back in a rhythm of things and seeing her run really well. And I'm really excited to see now how she'll compare to these other athletes as the season goes on.
Yeah, the one thing that's interesting about Taylor is that she's very kind of refined, a student of the game. She actually tracks a lot of movement behind the scenes, researching opponents, researching races. She actually the other day told me that she looked at performances at Trinity before, or just performances this stage of the season, to see sort of how her 17:42 stacks up. And she said that Morgan Gigadet of Troy last year ran this exact time really around this exact week. So it gives her a good hope looking toward the future, because this is where she's at right now. She actually feels like she could have gone a little bit faster, but she took that race out from the gun, and no one really was with her. Emma Bucher from Centerville was maybe the next closest, and she was over 18 minutes, right beside Taylor's teammate Jody Pierce. And so I think Taylor has a lot left to give. I think she can get a lot faster, and I think she's probably aiming a lot closer to that low 17s, high 16s this year than maybe where it's at right now. So I think there's a lot of potential out of Taylor. And even her team, too, Beaver Creek, their coach thinks that they could be a potential NXN qualifier. They got some girls that have to improve, but Jody, I think, was speed rated at 134 behind Taylor, who was a 143. And if they can get those three girls behind them, up, I think they're going to be a threat too in Ohio.
Absolutely.
Moving on to number 3 on our top 5 storylines was the MSU Spartan Invitational in Michigan. A really stellar meet, featured some great talent. These names aren't foreign to us. Obviously, Nick Foster, Adeline Ackley, and Jane Theis were in our minds way before this meet held strong. But huge field, some strong indications out of Michigan that this is going to be, some great competition, moving forward. So what did we see out of MSU that, gave us some thoughts here?
To me, it was really the girls that were the most impressive, running 2 of the fastest 5 times in meet history, behind Olivia Theis last year, who was the only one to ever run under 17, went on to finish 3rd at Foot Locker. And if you look just how they're stacking up, running low 17s this course is phenomenal, very similar to what Audrey Belf did in 2014. And she went on to finish top 15 at NXN and top 10 at Foot Locker in the same year. So, I mean, they're already in elite company on this course in terms of historical performances, but now you look at what do those performances mean if they keep that progression towards the end of the year. And we're looking at 2 athletes who can podium at any national championship with these kind of performances. So for me, it was really the girls and comparing them to how other people have run, in that we've known they're good, but these are 2 athletes who we're going to see at the front of these national championships.
I got a question for you guys about on the team front, because Adeline obviously won the race, but Hart, I finished 5th here in a big field. On paper, Hart's ranked as the number 12 team in the country in terms of times, right? So on paper, they're very strong, but in a field like this, they got swept up. So, what does that tell you about maybe a team like this? Obviously, I think they're kind of young. Lene and Savannah Ackley, I think, are sophomores, and they're 2 and 3 for that team. But what do you think that says about a team that on paper is very strong, but, in a meet like this, doesn't perform as well?
Definitely the depth. If you don't have if you don't have that 4 and 5 in a smaller field, or if you're even looking at averages, both the Ackleys, in their top 2 or 3 skew that massively towards the, the low direction. If you're in a small field, then you're going to be in a better situation. But when you have these massive invitationals, if your gap is 90 seconds or more between your 1-5, you're not talking about a gap of 20, 30, 40 athletes. That could be 150, 140 athletes. So and that's what you're looking at a regional race versus NXN. Like that, these kind of teams have a better chance of racing on NXN with 22 teams versus regionals with maybe 30 or 40 teams. Right. So, it is tough for these programs, but you look at Hart and they're so talented up front, but you got to shore up those last 2 to 3 spots if you want a chance just to get out of that regional race.
I was just going to say that, saying kind of the same thing. If you look at their team scores and their 5K PRs right now, They have a 2:37 1 through 5 split. I think that's where
but
the
Ackley
tough thing is.
skews, like Travis said, he
yeah,
skews
she
that.
skews it very far in
Yeah.
that direction. But you know, when your fifth girl's running 19:41, that makes it a little tough. Even you know, your second girl's 18:09. Even that's you know, over a minute split through that 2 through 5. So and like you said, the depth, and when you're in a big meet like that, I mean, there's a lot of kids, like, so that makes it a very tough thing to have.
On the boys' front, Nick Foster, Ann Arbor Pioneer senior. You know, we knew he had a great track season coming into this year, was going to be one of the top cross-country guys. A 192 speed rating at this race, ran extremely well. Is he making a name now for maybe, you know, in the future, maybe some of those regional races, or even at NXN, he could make some noise?
Oh, I think 100%. I think looking at Nick Foster, just what he was able to accomplish this track season, he ran really well, and he was on our radar. And for me, it was kind of preseason, we had him ranked a little low. I think for me, it was just like we had to start seeing that on the cross-country course, and I think this year he's really starting to prove it. You know, last year I think he may have I don't think he was able to compete in the regional meets. This year's a senior in Michigan, though, so he might be able to. But, you know, looking at Nick Foster, yes, I think he's definitely putting his name up there as one of the top guys in that. He should be in the Midwest region for Foot Locker, and Midwest also for NXN. You know, what also was impressive to me at the Spartan Invitational was the guys behind him. You know, some of those guys that we've probably haven't heard of, like Corey, I'm not sure how to say it. Gorgas, James, help me out with the last name again. Gedris, thank you. I'm terrible with names. I apologize. But, you know, both those guys looked really well. Corey specifically ran 190 speed rating. There hasn't been a lot of guys over over 190 or in the 190 range yet this year. And for, you know, and I know that course, I've ran there in college. It was an 8K, obviously, for college. But the course is, you know, it's flat for the relatively. It's fast. It's got a little bit of a rhythm breaker in hills. And, you know, for them to both almost go sub 15 minutes, I think it's a pretty impressive performance for that top 5 group of guys, you know, top 3 very specifically. So we're looking at some fast times from the state of Michigan. I think they're representing well.
Cool. This thing's getting in my ear. It's like really irritating me. So, you know, moving on to the Woodbridge Classic, it was probably the best meet of the bunch this past weekend in California. Man, Nico Young. What's up, Nico? Nice race. Wins the boys sweepstakes in 14:01, 189 speed rating. To put that in perspective, he went 15:17 last year, 163 speed rating. So Nico did some work over the offseason and really turned out. I'm being all kinds of like, what's
I think
the
he's
word?
malfunctioning again.
I'm going
Parker,
woke right
he's
now.
really
Corey off.
Nico Young.
Baby
Great
Corey
race.
go night-night.
You're killing me right now. All right, let's talk about the boys' race, though. Obviously, Nico was the best of the bunch. Beat Kevin Ramos, who ran well last week.
Yeah, I was really looking at the teams. You know, for the individuals, we knew they're always good. It's California, it's Woodbridge, but not the superstar power we've had from some of the past couple of years. So for me, I was really looking at Great Oak because the hype train was rolling coming into the season, and so this was the first real test. They're all in the same race, not split up like Seaside, and I think they delivered exactly what we needed to see out of them to justify their ranking at this point of the season. You know, same thing with the FMs, Loudoun Valley. No one needs them to come out of the gate and, you know, go 1 through 5 and run PRs and all that crazy stuff right now, but we have to see they deserve to be there. I think Great Oak proved that. They had a solid split. Their guys all ran fast, speed rated well, good depth 1 through 5, top 2 running 180s, right up with what FM, Loudoun Valley are doing right now. So I think from Great Oak, this is exactly what they had to do to start getting their season going.
Sometimes I think you take my notes right before the show. just I was putting down some of the same things. If you look at the Great Oak, the 1 through 5 split was 24 seconds, like you touched on.
Crazy.
The big thing for me is, like, after I spent the week with them, you know, they had a lot of guys that can step into action and step into place, and you know, the 3 guys that I think stepped up real big here was Cameron Hilton, he's a senior, Noah Nevins, who's also a senior. Like, these guys have been waiting in the wings to get their shot to run on this team, and now they're just proving why they should be there. Cameron in particular, he ran 15:32 at the same race last year. This year he runs 14:38. Noah Nevins, he ran 15:26, now 14:42. Huge improvement, and I think that's like part of the Great Oak train, is they keep those guys moving up the funnel, and we're always going to continue to see that. anyways, yeah, check out the workout week. That's another big plug here is like I spent a lot of time with these guys working on this. The one for day 4 is all about this battle. It's a huge thing for their team to make these positions. So those 3 guys in particular, I mean, we knew guys like Tyler Tickner, Gabe Abdus, and Chris Verdugo were going to be good. They were on the team last year. It's that back end guys who've really filled in and taken ownership into those places to put Great Oak back on the map.
The
again.
one drawback to Woodbridge that to be fair, it's a very, very fast course, right? And there's no surprise that a guy like Nico can improve by this much because it's almost like a track. So how concerned are you by maybe what you see on paper and whether it's realistic or not moving forward for some of these guys to replicate again? Do you think there is a little bit of concern there?
Well, for me, that was one of the other notes I had later on in the show when we talk about Bob Berman. Is that yes, like they ran extremely fast at Woodbridge. I went to the race last year. It's a very flat, fast course. I think this weekend, though, we're going to get to see the same top 7 guys travel to Bob Berman, and we're going to see them on a little bit of a different course. It's not the typical California course, and that's one of the things they touched on in the workout Wednesday yesterday, or the workout weekday yesterday, was running in that sand. Bob Berman has a little sand portion on a beach where they get to run on, so that'll help them hopefully there. But getting them out of their comfort zone, getting them out of the norm, getting them to mix things up and see where they really kind of fall in place with some of the best teams in the Northwest, some Utah teams coming up. So it'll be interesting to see how their times stand once they hit this weekend as well.
Yeah.
It's
a non-factor for me because I think at the elite level, you see the best individuals and the best teams every year go on from Woodbridge, run well at Mount Sac, run well at state meet, and then run well at national championships. I think maybe if you go further down the depth chart, then you're looking at some issues there. But I think at the top, you're also probably getting more experienced athletes who can handle those transitions. But it's less concerning for me. Maybe the thing that stood out the most with Nico Young is actually how that could potentially impact the team dynamics in California. Newberry Park was second in that race, which he is a big part of that. It got still blown out by Great Oak. I mean, it was nearly 100 points, so it wasn't there. They have a really good 1-2. A third is solid. They just don't have a 4 or 5 yet. But if Newberry Park 4 and 5 improve throughout this season, that's something that no one had really planned for. And then, especially when you look at the state meet and that super merge and how they get to NXN. It's just another California is so deep every year, it's absurd. And now if Newberry Park can get some help from their 4 and 5, you now have arguably one of the best individuals in the entire state as their number 1, and the number 2 is really good. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on with Nico Young, not just how he does, but how the rest of his team can follow.
Yeah,
actually,
for sure.
as I was looking at the rankings preseason, Jeff Parenti from California did kind of mention Newberry Park might be one of those those teams to watch, the underdogs, the guys that might be around. And sure enough, like you said, they showed up here at Woodbridge. Well.
Yeah, it's good. Hey, we're here kind of meet for Newberry Park. Switching gears to the girls' race, there was 2 kind of stories coming out of that meet. Obviously on the individual side, it was loaded with star talent. Tori Gatan, Corey Smith, Megan Lowe, Samantha Shadler, Chloe Arriga. But on the girls' team front as well, we had Great Oak, we had South Lake Carroll, we had Buchanan. We had all these teams that really, really performed well, and individuals as well. So this is one of the strongest meets that we saw so far. What to you was maybe more important than what you saw on the team side, or maybe individually what you saw maybe out of some of these girls?
I think Desert Hills
as well.
Yeah, out of Utah, just they've been in the mix, from the preseason, but finishing second, beating Buchanan, these California teams. They have historically made this trip out to Woodbridge, so it's not something that's foreign to them. But that second place finish, not entirely as big of a gap maybe as we saw on the boys' side like that. I think for them, go out to Woodbridge and show that, because these Utah teams, they're done in mid-October. They don't get a lot of chances. Yeah. We have this, Bob Furman. They don't really race outside of the state, so we don't really get that many chances to see them. So for them, this has got to be a massive confidence boost for this program as they look ahead towards how they're prepping for the regional meet in November. I saw that performance at Desert Hills, and I went to check the results. I was almost a double take when I saw that. I think for them, that was the most shocking thing to me out of the team side, was seeing Desert Hills really stick it to everybody and show that they deserve to be in the conversation with the best teams in the country.
I think the other thing you made a tweet about was talking about South Lake Carroll as one of the top teams in Texas now, based on speed ratings, correct? Is that kind of what you're looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. Carroll, it's the most stereotypical South Lake thing ever, I think, with this program. And we see it a lot of times with these nationally relevant programs, but they get blown out at Marcus 1. They understand when you need to race and when you don't. They ran. It was the same girls here and the same girls that finished 5th or 6th at Marcus 1 in Texas. I mean, Marcus 1 is a very big meet by Texas standards. It's big, it's deep, but do you race there or do you do? Because this is a lot of travel back and forth with Texas teams to add this in your season. It's taxing, for Texas teams to make a trip to meet like this. So where do you put your efforts as a coach, as an athlete? And they made the smart decision and said, you know what, we're putting all our eggs into Woodbridge. This is where we need to test ourselves against these people out here.
It's turning points too. A lot of times, this is the kind of meet where you pinpoint it, and it could turn your season if you run poorly at Marcus 1. You come here, you face girls that you don't ever face throughout the season, and you kind of see where you are in terms of the country rather than just Texas alone. So I think this gives South Lake Carroll a lot of confidence, and it could turn the season much to their benefit from here on out. So on the individual side, I like the fact that Tori actually took this race. Hearing her kind of talk about her strategy going into it, go out conservatively because you have a really talented field. And then when nobody decides to go at 800 meters, just kind of take the race. That actually, I think, to me was impressive for her because last year I believe she was 6th at state. She was very, very talented last year. She was their #1. But this year it's a turn for her too because she is their #1, but she needs to be confident enough to win races now. Not only does she lead them, but she has to go out and kind of compete with some of the best in the country, and that's why she's on our national rankings too. And I think winning over Corey Smith, who won CAF last year, is really, really impressive. You got Samantha Shadler. Chloe Origa obviously is very talented in California too. So I think this is a big win out of Tori because she had a huge offseason, put in a lot of miles as well.
Yeah. And that depth for them in a year when a lot of the top girls programs, FM, everyone's looking at, we need a 5, we need a 5, we need a 6. And Great Oaks 6 through 12 are interchangeable right now.
Yeah.
So that is a phenomenal place to be in, I think, after seeing that, where whether it's injuries or something else comes up, they can just slot in, next runner up here, they can slot in so many different athletes to get through the season, whether people need to rest a week or whatever it is. I think that is one of the big stories too, is just seeing they're deeper than any team in the country through 12 through their JV program right now. I think they're just in a phenomenal position with this girls team.
You can count on all 4 of those girls in their lineup to really go out and perform every time out. I'm a little like the 5th, I think they have talent, they have depth, but the 5th you could interchange 5 and 6 and 7. I think they still need to find out 5 on that team. Yeah. But I mean, they're in a good position. He has luxuries that other teams do not have, so he's in a good bind right there. So those were the storylines that we watched from last weekend. Now we're going to move on to the MileSplit 50. Our team rankings came out this morning on the boys and the girls side, and some big things emerged. Lone Peak girls rose to #5, and I think Wheaton Warrenville moved to 4. Moved to 4.
As we talked
so
about
those are big moves. But
Warren Wheatonville?
Warren WWS.
Yeah.
WWS. One of the things we talked about in our meeting this morning though was the Washington teams because they haven't really faced any teams in large competitions. It's been the tri meets, the quad meets. They're racing against each other right now. So how do we evaluate Washington teams at this point in the season?
It's been tough for me. Kamikin, Central Valley, and Lewis and Clark were all teams in the top 25. And looking at them, I know Washington always, the past couple of years, has been kind of a tough point for me because they always have a lot of tri meets and quad meets. They did have a pretty big invitational this weekend where we got to see, again, Kamikin and Lewis and Clark go head to head. So that's kind of the only telltale sign is like to see and look at these, based on that. But like they're definitely the head and above the pack. Kamikin had a 53-second 1 through 5 split, a 15:57 average for 5K. So they're looking good. They're looking strong. But it's hard to tell. I'd like to see some of these Washington teams get out and race, like at the Bob Furman's, maybe travel to California. I'm not sure what their state rules are, if they're allowed to or not. But I think that would really help nationally kind of place them and pinpoint them, because we always see them kind of sneak up in the rankings, especially towards the end of the year.
I think that's the problem sometimes, is like how we evaluate our rankings is who's the best right now, but because we haven't seen these teams race outside of their even like counties,
it's hard to tell.
We can't evaluate, but that doesn't necessarily say
that they're a bad team. No,
exactly.
exactly. Yeah. Like they have solid performances, solid times, a solid 1-5 split. So there's nothing saying that they aren't a top team, but it's so hard to tell when they don't race more than 12 teams, and it's the 12 teams
you have
in
to
their local
reward
area.
the teams that are racing ranked programs on a week-to-week basis. You know, we're getting hard comparisons there, where even when it's more difficult, and it's unfortunate. It doesn't look like there's a lot of out-of-state competition here. North Central is going to Bob Furman, but none of the other bigger Washington programs that we had hoped are going to be there as of yet on the entries. So it's a bit of a letdown, because Bob Furman is always bring some good teams out there. So I guess we'll see North Central, but not top 20 in MileSplit 50.
Number 17 on the girl side.
Yeah.
So they're coming off a tri-meet where their top 4 went 1911, 1911, 1912, 1912, and their 5th went 1935. So they're obviously, that's a workout.
Right.
they're working out in a tri-meet. But to me, that's just they're ready to fly. So I'm interested to see. You're going to be at Bob Furman. I'm interested to see what these teams do there.
Yeah. It's like, well, you can't necessarily penalize these teams too much. Like, every state has their restrictions, every school has different resources, but at the same time, you can't give them big advances for racing at these kind of small meets. You have to see something to justify that move when all these other programs are racing ranked teams, doing all these great things. You have to have something to show to justify that movement.
Yeah. Well, one thing that came out of our show last week, which was a great new GIF of sorts, was our pizza rolls winner of the week. I don't know who referenced pizza rolls initially in Instagram, but we got a new segment on MileSplit Live, pizza rolls winner of the week. So each of us are going to give our pick for who deserved the pizza rolls of the week.
What is the criteria here? How do you
Who deserves the most pizza rolls after their weekend race?
Who balled out like dough in an oven and just went blossomed?
Balled out like dough in an oven.
Cheese and
some cheese, pepperoni, and sauce.
Are these winners getting pizza rolls?
If we could give them pizza rolls, I feel like it should be
yes.
the winners who would deserve pizza rolls. Because I feel like your take is more of a little up and coming type of deal, which is not really what we're going for. I'm not sure.
Wrong.
No, I think we're going for who deserved the pizza rolls from their performance last week. That's what we're going for.
Open for interpretation.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start off, and it's probably not a surprise. My boy Nika Young, out of Newberry Park. Now Parker has found out some information about Nico online. He's an avid cook of sorts.
Hey, Nico, I'm from Thousand Oaks, so I'm going home to visit my family at the end of September. If you want to test out your new pizza oven on me, I'd be happy to try any samples, just throwing it out there.
Okay. All right, well, that's happening now. So I'm going to go with Nico Young because not only did he have a great performance at Woodbridge, but he's a cook, and he could probably cook a mean pizza, so we're going to send him – I would send him some pizza rolls. That's my pick.
All right, I got to go with Ariana Griffis. When you look at what this Great Oak team needed to do to be a contender to win NXN, you need 5 girls who can score, under 50 points. And last year, Griffis was around their 5th runner. All they lost was Sandra Fluhoff, so they brought a lot of returners back, but they didn't have that really talented, really 3 to 4 that they needed, that depth up top. And I think what she adds to this team is a game changer for Great Oak, from being a top 10, top 5 contender to truly being someone who can win a national title. As there's so many teams that are in that 3 to 7, 8, 9, 10 spot fighting for those places, but that jump up to being 1st or 2nd at NXN on these girls' side is just a whole different level. And I think what she brings to this program now is that ability to actually contend for a national title on the girls' side and be in that same conversation as Naperville North and Fayetteville Manlius right now.
All right.
My take?
Yeah.
I'm going to take Nick Foster from Ann Arbor Pioneer.
Did you just figure that out?
Yeah, I did, actually. Well, after talking about him and like what he was able to do, looking at his speed rating, is one of the best so far of the year. How can you deny that? Like, when you're running a 192, I'm pretty sure it's one of the top so far this year. Can't you can't bash the guy for that. He ran a 191 speed rating. How do you go against that? And it was good.
Hey, it was good. All right.
I'm happy with that. It was all right.
I mean, mine pick was a game changer for the
Ariana
program
Griffis
to
is
win
good.
national title. Your pick was like, he's the best right now.
I'm going to put it right now. Nick Foster is going to win whatever region meet he runs at, whether it be Foot Locker Midwest or NXN Midwest.
Hey,
he's winning one of his region meets.
You're already wrong, by the way. Cole Bullock won a 92.
Yeah, I said Cole Bullock won a
last
192.
week.
I said 191. One of the top is what I said. I'm pretty sure. Can we play it back?
Let's just go to Parker on her pick.
So, in my opinion, Kaitlyn Hart is getting all of the pizza rolls. She had a really gutsy performance, I think 2 weeks in a row. I mean, she dropped with a 16:36, which is pretty impressive, but then she came back this week and was 6 seconds off her PR, opened the race in a 5:10 alone, and then her next mile, she came in at the 2-mile mark at 10:38, which would have been a number 18 U.S. time in outdoor. So that's pretty cool, like opening up in a top 20 2-mile in a cross-country race. But, I mean, she had a good showing, and I think that she is going to move up on the MileSplit 50 list. So I'm excited. I will send her some pizza rolls if I ever get the opportunity.
All right. Well, that is our picks. I think we're going to put this on Instagram for everyone to vote on who won this week's Pizza Rolls winner of the week.
Yeah, check back. I will put that up, and you can let us know who you think we should send
you get
pizza rolls to.
Yeah. Speaking of Instagram, Parker, last week we threw down some questions unbeknownst to us. But do you want to do that again? You want to throw us some Instagram questions?
Yeah. Again, every week on our story, I'm going to put in one of the little question boxes, and y'all can ask us any questions you want. I'll pick the best 3, and I will throw them at the guys. So this week's 3, the first question is, how slept on is Indiana's sweetheart, Cole Hawker?
I mean, he's been getting more love than anybody else.
Yeah.
Who's put that? Did Cole Hawker send that in? Is that what happened here? I feel like, he's been seeing tons of stuff about him lately. He's been going off. If anyone's sleeping on him, it's not us.
Yeah, I don't think so. Becca's been going hard in Indiana on Cole Hawker coverage. Cole Hawker's got at least 1 post a week on Indiana MileSplit, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, get out of here.
You heard that, Nick Ruscoshi. Who is Travis putting on notice this week from Little Iden?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, I like that.
That is a good question.
Travis is on blast here.
Yeah, so I thought about this a lot in the last 7 seconds. And you know what? I'll tell you who I'm putting on blast. Dowling Catholic. So I went on a rant in the preseason countdown show. I was all in on these guys coming in number 11. They're going to go top 10. This is the team to watch this year. They got blown out by Edina this weekend. Edina came to Illinois. They came to their turf and showed them Iowa. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Make sure you get your states right, people. I mean, they got blown out by almost 60 points by Edina. They were ranked outside of the top 20. They come out there. I mean, they ran their top 7 for both programs, and Edina really showed them up. Dowling Catholic, I mean, they dropped down to 14th in the rankings now. Edina takes a nice jump up. They ran phenomenally, but Dowling Catholic, we've talked about this before. When you got it, if you're in a region like that, it's gonna be tight. You don't only have a few chances where you can have performances that'll get in the conversation. Do you deserve a wild card? They took an L to Edina, so on notice, Dowling Catholic. Come on, man.
I think they should be at Rugriac in 2 weeks, so we should see them again against Edina, who should be there as well.
See if you can move off notice.
Yeah, moving off.
Last question. I wanted to get some advice from the panel here. This one's from Nick Diaz, 515. Something to absolutely not do in a 5K race. Do you have any advice for Nick?
Not do in a 5K.
Don't jump in the water.
You will get put on MileSplit maybe because it's pretty funny, but you're not going to get a good time.
Don't be that guy that jumps into the pool of water if there is some on the course.
Don't be that athlete who sprints the first 400 and then finishes like.
I was just
those athletes are always like second to last.
You know what?
Honestly,
I would say don't be the guy that sprints at the very end after jogging 24 minutes.
Those people are worse too. Like jogging for the whole 20 minutes and then sprinting as hard as you can. Yeah, like run a solid race. Like get out there. in a good position yourself well, push hard through that second mile because most of the time that's where it hurts the most, and then just finish hard for the home.
I don't know. I'm all about those hard finishes. You got to show out for Bay, man. You know what I mean? Like, you got something left in the tank.
Yeah, but
you gotta
Bay's
look
not going
good
to be
going
impressed
down
if
through
you're
that
jogging
finish.
20
by a
minutes
20-minute 5K
and running a 13-second last 100.
As long
Nobody
as
cares.
That finish
Like,
photo looks good. I mean, that fixes all the problems.
So
Okay,
just
so
dive
new
at the line.
segment is how to impress Bay in a 5K race.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Finish hard when you're running a 20-minute 5K.
Give the double guns as you run by.
All right. Thanks, Parker. Appreciate that. We have a little bit of time left. We have some big meets coming up on our schedule. Bob Furman, Bowden XC Invitational in New York, the Chili Pepper Invitational in Arkansas, and Wingfoot XC Challenge in Georgia. I want to get from you guys in 5 words or less, how would you summarize these meets? We'll start with Bob Furman first.
I only care about Furman.
Ooh, really? That's only 5 words. Huge meets on tap this weekend. That's 1 word.
Brian struggles with 1 word.
This weekend is 1 word.
Let's see how many huge references we get
This
from
weekend
Brian.
is 1 word.
All right.
Huge.
We'll go Bowden.
Bowden, yeah.
Bowden.
It's
Get the name
so
right, Corey.
Tons of ranked teams looking at the registration and signups.
That is not 5 words.
We're looking at Christian Brothers. Colton Neck in New Jersey normally has a solid
doing
team.
like 5 paragraphs.
Corning is going to be there.
The segment is 5
Cumberland
words or
to
I
less.
have beef with you. You
This-
dropped Corning this
This has
week, didn't
teams.
you?
Yes, that was actually off of
Sneaky
New York
son of a-
MileSplit's Kyle Brazil's recommendation.
What
So
does Kyle know?
based on their speed ratings and based on what I heard
All
from some intel
Feel
from New
good.
York,
I feel good
they
about
dropped.
Corning.
Brian,
Feel
you're
good.
done. That's not 5 words.
This is going to be a huge race, Corey. This is going to be a huge race.
Travis.
I stand by my first statement.
Okay. We'll move on to Chili Pepper. 5 words or less. Chili Pepper be poppin'.
Rematch.
That's 4 words.
No. Rematch is going to be 2. No, rematch is going to be 1. Rematch Carter Cheeseman versus.
Cheese is racing
Wow.
Chili Pepper?
Yeah, Cameron Fisher.
Too many
yeah,
words.
Look at Arkansas MileSplit, man. He's got it all laid out
okay.
there. He's got the top teams. The only thing is, so you're going to see a rematch of those 2 guys. They're top MileSplit 50 ranked dudes. But we could see the same exact conditions they saw at the South Lake Carroll Invitational. I looked up the weather. It's supposed to be like 70 and rainy. So we'll see. Hopefully,
gonna be
we're
hot,
hoping to
man.
get
All
an
right.
even playing field.
We
to
got
get some
one more
good fast
meet.
times.
Wingfoot XC Classic. Kyle Harkabus of Georgia, the top guy in Georgia, is going to be there. So 5 words or less.
Kyle will dominate. There's 3.
Yeah.
Stand by my original statement.
Harkabus for the win, please. I don't know.
I think we can
That-
all
that
agree
makes
that,
sense.
that segment was a pretty big
We're not.
miss.
Can you please vote on whether we should bring back 5 words or less segment? You know, we'll just hear it from the fans.
Do we get to talk about Bob Furman? Was that just Travis's comment of
yeah,
Bob Furman is the best or whatever?
Pretty
it
much.
was?
We're going to talk about Bob Furman next week.
Really, it's not as good as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
Actually-
there's some teams missing.
To be honest, though, one of the top girls teams I think coming out of
I
this
got it
meet,
written right there.
Boise Senior.
Boise
Yeah.
High.
One fun fact: I tried to do a story on Boise Senior about 2 weeks ago, and the coach pretty much told me to get back to him in 3 weeks after they raced at Furman because
There we go.
he wanted to surprise Great Oak.
Well,
he believes that nobody knows how good they are yet.
It could be a
And-
big coming
So
out party for him and
tell
letting the nation
Boise,
know. But
no one tell Great Oak. Great
Oh.
Oak, stop watching
Stop
this
watching.
show right now.
cut
Yeah.
it.
I thought it was funny because I just said like, hey, why do we exist then? Like we have all your stats on
I
our
mean,
website.
The bummer for me was that American Fork girls are listed as
Yeah,
going,
girls are
but not
listed, but boys are not.
Yeah,
And
that was definitely
that was
a
one of the
matchup
things-
I think a lot of people were looking at. You know, there's some of the other Utah teams are going, but American Fork's a little bit ahead of everyone there, and definitely was looking at that matchup with Great Oak, which is not happening on the boys' side, which is definitely a bummer.
All right, well, stay tuned for more coverage on MileSplit.com. We'll have all that for you in the scoop this weekend. And heading into our show next Tuesday, we'll talk about all the big meets. So stay tuned next week. We will see you then. Thanks for watching.